Good afternoon, good evening, and good morning to those coming in from all parts of the world. But to here in Australia and New Zealand, we want to welcome you all and thank you for your time this evening. We know that it's late in New Zealand after 10:30 p.m. So we apologise for the late start, but we are starting now and we have an amazing guest speaker tonight. But before we go ahead and I hand over to Yvonne, I'm going to read our acknowledgement of country. So we would like to acknowledge the land in which we are meeting on today and pay our respects to elders past, present and emerging. We would like to thank them for the knowledge they share with us to look after the land and each other. So again, welcome, welcome, welcome. And for those coming in a little bit late, please just make sure that you're muted and we will go forward with the meeting tonight. Yvonne, are you there?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, I'm going to hand over to Yvonne so she can introduce our special speaker.
Okay. Hi, everyone. So lovely to have you all here tonight. And I have a special guest tonight. He's a lovely friend of mine. I've known him for a few years. He's also a founder in ONPASSIVE. His name is Ian Rankin. He lives in Perth, originally from the UK. So wave, Ian. He's actually in his van as we speak, and he's on his own life journey. He's met some amazing people, which has led him to be involved in building a sustainable community. And I'm going to let Ian talk all about that and introduce Ian. So welcome, Ian. Thank you so much for joining us today. It's lovely to have you here.
Well, thank you, Narelle, and thank you, Yvonne, for this wonderful opportunity. Yvonne and I have been discussing me coming on to the video to discuss what's going on in my part of the world for quite some time. So thank you for that. And I'd like to say a big hello to everybody. I know a lot of you guys and girls have been making the effort regularly to come onto these webinars. I live in quite a remote location. It's very difficult to get on the webinars, but I'm now in Walpole, which is in the south of Southwest Australia, and just pulled up to a caravan park and plugged in, so we're ready to go. I'll just tell you a little bit about myself. As Yvonne mentioned, I'm originally from the UK, came to Australia many years ago on my own. I escaped the UK, is the way I like to describe it, and I left it, and I often got asked if I missed the UK when I left, and I said I did at first, but once I was on the plane I was fine. And that was it. I have no connection to the UK, physically, mentally, spiritually, or any otherwise. I have family there, but that is not my connection. My connection is with the planet and not with any country. I personally feel like I hold no borders, and I think borders are just create conflict and a distraction from life itself. That's my position in life at the moment. I used to work in oil and gas and mining, and I've had several small businesses. Been on a personal development journey for many years. When I met Yvonne, I'm not sure, 3 or 4 years ago now, I just can't remember how long. And Yvonne introduced me to ONPASSIVE, or Go Founders at the time, and I signed up because I really liked the sound of it, and I'm still very happy to be part of it. So thank you everybody and Ash for this opportunity. Since I've known Yvonne, I've moved in various circles to enhance my personal development and my spiritual development, and many other things for my personal growth. Currently, I stepped out of the mainstream, stepped out of the matrix a couple of years ago, completely at the beginning of this year. Moved out of Perth, came to the south to work on a hemp farm, an industrial hemp farm for medicinal products. And there I embarked on my journey of looking for communities that were thinking the same as me. And at first I thought this is going to be a big job, but as I manifested my life and all the things I wanted in this world, everything started to appear before me. So it's I'm starting to realize now that we have more power and ability within ourselves than we are led to believe through our training and indoctrinations from our upbringings in the Western world. Currently, I'm working with 2 or 3 different groups of people to build sustainable communities for whatever may come in the future, so we can be self-sufficient, including having land, access to water, growing our own food, and we also want to have music and festivals included in our world, because we believe we can dance in the appropriate vibrations just as we used to do when we were tribes. Dance in all of our ancient tribes and cultures was very important part of the existence, and bringing in the future, bringing in the now, and having some joy and fun in our lives in the process. So one group of people I'm working with have been gifted 50 acres of land in a place called Collie on the Wellington Dam. It has dam frontage. I think it's the only farm that has dam frontage. And this farmer is like-minded. He is put his whole world online to bring in the new communities which he passionately believes in. So he's gifted 50 acres to one of our friends who is currently busy doing some clearing and starting to build a community of like-minded people. We have other communities started up in WA and Carradale, which is near Margaret River. There's a place there called Mindful Earth. They have a slightly different approach. They have a bunch of volunteers that turn up and they all just chip in and help. We have another group or particular person in Hopeton, which is on the south coast. She is busy creating her own community with some wonderful people. And myself and my partner Terry, with a few other investors, are busy trying to secure some land in a sacred part of West Australia. It's in a place called Greenbushes. There's a mining operation some 20 odd kilometers away, but the original mine, the original lithium mine, was mined over 100 years ago, and it's the largest lithium deposit on the planet. Now, this land has become available to us through a farmer's son who has no need for this land. He's busy doing other things outside of farming. It's sacred land. It has a massive lithium rock on the property, which we've already had blessed by the local indigenous leaders. They've come to the land, they've blessed it, and they understand the sacredness of this particular piece of land. It's very important to them, as it is important to us and potentially all of humanity when whatever comes. Now we are still busy sourcing a few more investors to help us secure this land. It's 220 acres, I believe, 220 acres, and we're getting it at an amazing price because the deal that was struck with one of our original investors who introduced the land to us, and she had a great relationship with this farmer's father, and since he passed, the son is happy to continue with the original negotiations, which is amazing, and we're so grateful for that. So just a little bit about that. I think it's important to understand that in our particular case, any investor that comes to this property to join us would have to click a few boxes. So first of all the investors, once the land is bought, there's a couple of people that have been manifesting this land, don't pay anything because they're busy pulling it all together. Other people have put in various amounts. So for us, it's not about the money, it's about securing the land. And once the land's secured, there is no ownership. It is a communal land for humanity and for us to build on that and make sure we have safe passage potentially for people that need to come south. It gives us the opportunity to grow and live as we were meant to, freely on this planet, without borders, rules by groups of people that have no jurisdiction over humanity, as they claim to currently, which is government bodies and others. We are able and we are allowed, we have a divine right to live freely on this planet as we should. And this is our approach to it. And we feel strongly about this. We all have certain rights that have been trained out of us over millennia. And we believe that we are working in the light, and the dark can't compete with us. It's very important that, that you hear these words from me, because we believe that if we don't work within the light and build these sacred, self-sustaining communities, we will be enslaved for another 2,000 years. And now we are where we are in the age of Aquarius, where things are changing, and the changes that are coming, we don't really know, when we probably can't comprehend at this moment the types of changes that are coming, and they're coming quickly, you know, with the global financial collapses and all these other things that are going on. So we attract like-minded people that are heart-based and somewhat spiritual, if you like. We have to believe at some point in this existence of ours that we are much, much more than what they let us believe as people, and as spiritual people, and as humans. So we are looking for a few more investors to help us secure this land. The owner has been extremely patient with this, and we are extremely grateful for that, I might add, to still have the opportunity to secure this land. And we believe we are almost there. So I'm not here looking for investors. Of course, anybody can jump in and ask that. I'm here to spread the word that we are free to do these things on this planet, as long as we are from the heart and we are kind and generous to every living thing on this planet, including everything that Mother Earth gives us. And once everybody realizes that if we have a small footprint on this planet, the Earth just gives back and the universe will provide. So we believe that, and we have experience in that now. Every time we ask for something, and we ask from a heart-based place, we just seem to get it. So it's amazing. We get a lot of help from different groups of people, and all we have to do is shine, be happy, and live by example, to show people that this is what the future is for us and the particular groups of people that we're aligned with. I'm so happy about the future, in spite of all the things that are going on. I'm confident, and I'm grateful that the future has revealed itself to me and my friends and colleagues and everybody else that comes to these lands that we've been given, and the ones that we are accessing at the moment. So I'll touch on a couple of things that we believe are important. So we will festivals, music festivals, are important in our lives. I've come to realize this in the last couple of years, just how important that is, because music, dance is an important vibration for us to send out the signals to the universe. Like, whether we like to believe it or not, I truly believe that every vibration that comes from the earth spreads far and wide. We shine in this galaxy, we shine in the universe. Is a very, very special place. And anything other than that, which, you know, whatever else is going on in the universe, I'm not going to discuss that now, because everybody's got their own ideas of that. We think that we have been somewhat potentially chosen by fate, or whatever terms you choose to use, to express that particular view. I think that we've been earmarked, who knows, centuries ago, because the DNA carries information, memories in our cells passed on. Because, you know, I've probably got my great-great-grandfather's nose, so there's definitely a memory somewhere in our generations So that is memory, that is cellular memory, and we carry that over and over again. So what we believe is if we can somehow recall that, remember those things, eventually we will come to find the truth of what we're actually doing here. So on that note, we are now looking at several properties, one in particular. Different groups have their own properties, and we are starting to create a network of community leaders in the Southwest. We've got 5 different groups now, and the leaders, and they are amazing people. They are heart-based healers, they're spiritual people, they're trades people, they come from all walks of life. But the people that we are mixing with and negotiating all of these properties with all have um, the same reasons for wanting to do this. When and if the system falls apart more than it already is, people have a safe place to go where they can live freely.
Ian, can I butt in there for a minute, please?
Sure.
It's so amazing what you're talking about and sharing with us. Can you go a little bit more into depth as to the property that you have now? Do you have buildings on that? Is it a community where there's gardens, as in fruit and vegetables being grown there? Have you just started it recently? Where is your sort of progress along with that first property?
So the first property, which was gifted to our friend Bazard, he's an Iranian refugee, a Persian refugee. He came and parked himself outside of this farmer's property, and it's a very, very unusual relationship. You've got a 5th generation farmer in Collie with a Persian refugee. And first of all, he wanted to shoot him to get him away from his property, and now they've become great friends, and he gifted him this land. It's a virgin forest, and well, it's actually regrowth. Just about everything in the southwest of Australia is regrowth. It was destroyed by the British lumberjacks when they wanted to build England back 150 years ago. So just about everything is regrowth. So it's quite big now. It's been growing back for 100 years. So it's big. So he's busy clearing that land to start developing the community, and so he's down there now. He lives there, and the farmer's helping him clear the old. Some of the regrowth stuff, which is you have all the spurs and spikes come out of these trees, so we know which ones to clear to make sure we're keeping the main tree and not all of the spurs that come off of their roots. This is the problem with WA now, that the forest is stifled by regrowth. He hasn't got any land cleared for growing food. He has a natural spring which leads to the dam. There's 2 natural springs actually which lead down to the dam, so he has water. At the moment, he's just manifesting everything he needs to bring that in. Whereas the other property that me and Terry and the other investors in the other property, which is some distance away near Green Bushes, that's a farm, and it hasn't been managed for 15 years. It's just been idle, but it has buildings, it has a spring, a natural spring, it has a river frontage with 50-meter wide river where the farmer across the way is has a marron farm. And for anybody outside of Australia, that's like a little crustacean. And it's beautiful land, and it's sacred land according to our Aboriginal brothers and sisters. So when we actually get into this land, we have quite a bit of infrastructure already in place. There's 2 houses which need a good look at. There's sheds. There's a dam which needs water in it, which is fed from the spring. I think all the equipment that feeds that is just not being used. It has 50 acres cleared, and the other 170 acres is forest, and it's on the highest point in the Darling Ranges, which is quite amazing that land is available to us. And once we get into this land, it won't take us long to get it up and running. The investors that we've got, and the ones that haven't arrived yet, will just continue to buy infrastructure so we can start developing land and growing the gardens we need and having marketplaces for people to come and trade, and we'll have music festivals to help pay for it, and also when the time comes that people start drifting out of the city when they just can't live there anymore, we want safe passage for those
Yeah, that's
people.
fair enough. And that's understandable. That's really important. And I think how you're describing it is really, you know, that it doesn't belong to anybody, it belongs to us. You know, that
Yeah,
those people who are involved and those who want to come into that area to escape
yeah,
from or leave from or just be one with, you know, so,
sure.
and I think that is so. Can you explain like how your feelings are? You are a founder in ONPASSIVE, you know,
Hmm.
so tonight we are speaking on passive, and I want to
Hmm.
know, have you sort of got your dreams or goals around, you know, when ONPASSIVE launches and starts bringing you in the money?
Well, any money that I make from passive is going to go to the community. I have no care for money as a monetary system, but I realize its value in buying infrastructure. Of course, you know, we're not out of the matrix yet, but we are stepping away from the matrix slowly, by buying infrastructure. Everything that any money I make from on passive or otherwise, I will put straight back into the community,
Yeah.
because all we need is food, shelter, and somewhere to do that.
So I'm
Ultimately, that's all we need.
Yeah, absolutely. And I believe that ONPASSIVE will definitely help in that situation. But it also
Mm,
opens up to the point that many of us, you know, may want to look at buying land, you know, and looking at different infrastructures rather than living in cities and just doing what some of the city people do. And I'm not blaming city people. I grew up on farms, you know, we grew up with on dairy farms, and whether milk's good for you or not, that's how we grew up. And it was amazing what my parents were able to do and grow. My dad had a quarter of an acre of a veggie garden when we moved in town because they couldn't give up the fact that they were from the country and fresh milk
yeah,
was the best milk. So we had a cow in town. Lucky we lived near a gully and the cow was down there, but we used to have to milk that cow to give fresh milk. But it's amazing what you can do with very little. And I think it's amazing that people can become quite lazy because of, you know, the way that society makes everything. Sorry, just had someone. And if they open up again, I will be removing them from the webinar. Sorry about that, Ian. Yeah, so what I'm saying is that, you know, when people get so sort of laid back and everything is about a quick society of just give me, give me, give me. And I'll just touch on this very quickly, but a lot of our generations have given so much to the children of today because we missed out or we didn't have it or we worked really hard for what we got. Working hard there's nothing wrong with that, you know, as dairy farmers, as any sort of farmers, it is hard work. I have a sister and her husband have a cattle property and it is hard work. The thing is, you know, we have to sort of look at ways and means of what else can we do, you know, like we look at, you know, the finances, and yes, money isn't the thing here, but money does allow us to do the things that we need to do, whether it's for ourselves or for our communities. And I think here is what's really important, and what Ian's sharing with us today is about that community, like-minded people who think alike, who want the same sort of things or outcomes from not only for themselves, but also for those around them. You know, sometimes we don't have the answers, and that's why Ian has come on again today, just to sort of share what he's doing, because it might spark something in each and every one of you for what you want to do. We talk about, you know, what are we going to do for the, I don't like calling them homeless, those who are a little less fortunate than ourselves right now, those who don't have fresh water, those who don't have fresh food, or the quantity that they need, or the quality, you know, so everything is sprayed these days and we want to try and get away from that. So I think it's really important that we start to open up and think about who is it we are going to help, but who are we going to help here in Australia? You know, Ian set up a community where there are like-minded people. Is it something that you're interested in? Because I'd like to go to a Q&A for Ian, because I think that it sparks a little bit of a time where we can ask Ian these questions about what it is, or something that might have been sparked in you that you might want to know about sustainable communities, you know, because sometimes we just don't know where to start. And I think, Ian, that's my question is, like, you know, besides the land, and I know that a lot will wait to have funds available. Not everybody is gifted a block of land or acreage or anything like that. But we can certainly look into, you know, buildings and things like that as well that are left empty by a lot of massive big companies that don't care that they're left empty, but people are on the streets, you know. So there's a lot of things there. So I think if anybody would like to raise their hand to ask questions, but Ian, if you could just answer that one for me about, you know, where were your thoughts? How did you start? You know, yes, it starts in the heart and it starts in the mind about, you know, being or standing out different from when you were younger or something like that. You know, was it something you had always thought about when you were younger, you know, about, you know, doing this type of thing to have sustainable enterprises, communities?
Well, actually, not at all. I grew up in South London, and I had what you might call an interesting upbringing. And so I was thrown in at the deep end at a young age in that environment, which drove me out of the UK to search for greener pastures. And I believe that it meant to happen that way. If I didn't have I guess you say, the trauma of that particular time of my life, I'll maybe still be there and sitting in a box 7 floors up in the air with a bunch of drug dealers in the bottom. So I believe that I was meant to leave, and that short, sharp education, which I took on board as a great education a little bit later in life, and realized that it meant to happen. So no, I didn't have that in my mind as a kid, but I always wanted to leave the UK from the age of 15. So I had to get myself an apprenticeship, and once I'd finished my apprenticeship, on this particular Friday, on the Monday, I applied to immigrate to Australia, and I was gone within a year, and I was grateful just to get out of that place, never to return. So it wasn't until I started embarking on my travels. I spent the next 9 years traveling the world from Perth, because I could make enough money to do that in Australia. The standard of living was good. And then once I'd finished my travels, I embarked on small businesses and all these little things that I thought was going to make me happy. And then I ended up having kids a bit later in life, spent 20 years bringing those kids up, and then I got back into the world, which I thought was on my path. And then I got into personal development and spiritual development in particular, and understanding that you know, whatever you focus on is what you bring into your life, whether you focus on good things or things that are not so good. I don't like to use the word bad or lose or failure. I don't think they're healthy words to use. You know, everything that didn't work in my life was another step to the successes that I'm feeling now. But whatever you focus on is what you get. So I'm focusing on a good life, and love is the answer. I love myself more than I've ever loved myself in these last few years. And when I look in the mirror, I see the person I wanted to see, and I'm grateful for that. So until you love yourself, you can't expect the rest of the world to feel that same love. Life is a mirror, and now that I understand that, everything that I focus on, I'm starting to get, and that includes the lifestyle that I'm choosing, and that's the best answer I can give you, Narelle.
No, I truly understand that. To me, you're sort of preaching to the converted here. I did a lot of inner work. I've come through domestic violence, and I had to have a look at what my biggest problem was, and that was allowing men into my life because I thought I wasn't worthy enough to find love in myself. I didn't even know about that. So I don't actually judge anybody on their journey, because I always have said, who are we to judge another on their journey, because they're not at where we are, you know, because everybody has a different journey. The fact that I took time out I was hurt, I was badly hurt. And sometimes I always say the knock in the back of the head in a big mining industry was the knock that I needed, because it made or put me on the path of going inside and finding out why I kept making the choices that I made. One of them that I found along that path was that I never loved myself, and I didn't know how to love myself, because I'd never been shown how to love myself. And that it was that if you loved yourself, it was about ego, but it's not about ego. Love is not about ego. True love, sincere, unapologetically, love is not anything to do with ego. So you're right, you know, the journey of inner love, it doesn't matter. Each and every one of you will be on a different part of that journey. Okay. And what your beliefs are, it does not matter at the end of the day, as long as you find what you need inside you, you know, because that is what's really important. When you find anger, and when you find disgruntlement, you know, it truly is something now that I don't handle very well, because I really don't have it in my life. You know, when it does come in, I think, well, you know, what is it I need to look at this thing that may be reflecting of myself, you know? And that's
absolutely 100%,
you know, something that, because you can't stop once you say, yes, I love myself and I love who I am, and you've been on this journey, you can't stop for the inner world from coming in. It's going to happen, because sometimes we as people need to say, okay, I don't know everything, I'm not perfect, okay, I'm far from perfect, but I'm perfectly me, and that's what counts. Those inner things that come in can put us on a little bit of a turmoil. And I've just had something happen this evening which did that to me. And it was somebody being very rude and very aggressive, in a sense, a bit of bullying. And I'm thinking, wow. Now, it doesn't mean that that's what I've brought in. It's made me look at things, because I'm a very loving, caring person, and I give a lot. And sometimes those lessons are brought in to make us realize that sometimes we do actually have to stop, and it's okay to say no. Okay.
Oh, you bet.
Because when you're giving, when you say yes, and I'm not a yes person, I have very, very strong boundaries, and this person overstepped the boundary, and I had to block and delete that person, because that's what I needed to do. It had nothing to do with me, but it made me reflect on my strength right now. You know, am I strong enough? You know, I question myself about why. And it just makes you realize that sometimes you have to have a thicker skin, and that you have to reflect back, because whatever comes to you doesn't always belong to you. You need to reflect it back to that person. I have an analogy that I used when I was going through the journey of finding myself and things like that, because it is really hard to come back from, say, domestic violence and things like that. But I always thought I was born in the wrong era, and I should have been born in the era of princes and princesses and ball gowns and everything like that, right? So I always pictured myself in a ball gown, beautiful, big, you know, the big skirts and mirrors all over it. And those who tried to deflect into me and bring their crap into me, I pushed it back and sent it back to them, because we don't have to own their crap. We don't have to own their stuff, their hatred, their anger, their bullying and everything like that. We don't have to own it. We have the strength within us to say, no, stop. That is not my behavior. That is not what I'm going to accept, and set your boundaries. I know that I've just gone off course there a little bit, and I do apologize. But I just wanted to bring it back to what you said, Ian, about, you know, finding the love within. And you do bring into your life then, as you have done, those people who are like-minded, you know, and I think we all, as ONPASSIVE founders, have similar beliefs, have similar wants, have similar needs and desires to want to get out there and help communities. So I'm just going to go over, Ian, because we do have a hand up by Deborah. So I'll just ask you to unmute, Deborah, if you want to ask a question or share with us tonight.
Yeah, it's not so much ask a question, it's just sharing, because this has been my journey all of my life, like ever since I was a child. Just something that you said then about, pushing stuff back, etc. What generally happens is that, the more light that we emanate, we we attract, not necessarily attract that, but we enrage others around us because they're not shining so brightly. And so therefore they try and attack us. It's like, the tall poppy syndrome that Australia seems to still have, unfortunately. It's just, yeah, when you shine your light and show, your love, people react around us, basically. And so that's not necessarily our fault.
No.
It's just bringing up in them what they are not doing.
Yeah, and thank you for that reminder, Deborah, because sometimes I take things on because I am very caring, and I know what love is, and all I want to do is share, and I don't want to be a rejecting of another person. However, I do have to have my boundaries, and that person stepped way over, and
Yes.
I allowed enough of that, and I just went, no more,
exactly.
and
good for you.
saved myself, and my heart was thumping out of my chest.
Yeah.
I am still very vulnerable after what I've been through lately, and maybe my emotions are a little bit on just sitting on the edge there, so perhaps I allowed him in further than what I expected, and I will say, I won't say who it is, but I will say that it was wrong. Okay.
Yeah.
And I won't allow that to happen. But thank you for bringing that up, because sometimes we feel that we ourselves, we take a certain form of judgment about it, like maybe I could have, or maybe I should have. But in this instance, my should have became you're gone.
Yeah, and that's fair enough. I mean, like you say, we have our boundaries, and whilst we can be loving beings, we do not need to take anyone else's crap, basically. So well done for you.
Yeah, thank you. I felt much better after the blocking, I can tell you that.
Yes, exactly. But I just wanted to share with Ian too, like throughout my journey on this plane, I move with spirit. I'm moved constantly to where I need to be, and I just go, I flow. I don't, from a teenager, I have not questioned that. It's just go. But I'm on my journey. I have seen a lot of community type situations, and I'm yet to come across one that works. But I still live in hope. So yeah, and that's one of my thoughts when ONPASSIVE, does start to bring us in money, was also to buy land, like a lot of people are doing. But my thoughts there were for the demographic of women from, their 50s on. They seem to be the largest demographic at this point in time that are becoming homeless. And a lot of that is because women are the caregivers, and they've not been in the workforce. They don't have anything to fall back on when in times of trouble or, divorce, etc. And so that was my thought around that, was to buy land for them. But yeah, and have no set structure, but like-minded people, like you're trying to attract, of course, as well. Like-minded people will come together. But yeah, I've lived in, we lived in a very small town in South Australia where it was a farming, fishing area, but there were a lot of like-minded young people that came together for the surf, for whatever, for an alternative lifestyle. We didn't live in a community as such. We lived in our own individual houses, but as a community, we were strong, so people go through their stuff, there was not much judgment, basically, on what happened with people's lives, etc. I've also lived in northern New South Wales, which is another enlightened area of this part of the country where there are many communities. There are many multiple
Byron?
occupancy. No, not so much Byron. Byron, yeah, is a very different energy, but I'm talking about areas around Nimbin, Kyogle, Lismore, the hinterland, like the inland in the mountains. There's actually a lot of multiple occupancy communities in around there that most people wouldn't even know are there. They'll be just a driveway going through the bush, and there's quite a lot of houses in there, and there are all sorts of different ways of how they've created those communities, and some I've seen that have been quite toxic, and others that have been not so. So it's an interesting concept for me. As I said, I get moved with spirit, and I go where I'm needed to go. So for me, it's not about withdrawing from society. It's about being part of society so that we can assist those that will eventually be looking for us, and we're not separate, basically.
No.
So it's
there's only one life. There's only one life we have it.
Yeah. So that's right. We have one life at this point in time, exactly. So we'll be doing what we've chosen to do before coming here, basically, and that unfolds as it's meant to unfold.
Yeah, and I think that takes a lot of strength also, Deborah. On one hand, Ian's not stepping out of society, but just taking a different path to build that sustainable community. And yet on your side of things, you're saying, let's step up because we need to be there. We need to be the strong ones. And I absolutely agree with both.
Yeah.
I certainly have days that I want to run away and just not deal with society. However, I do believe that we're all here for a purpose. Now, whether you know what your purpose is, and I do ask you to start thinking about that, a lot of the things that I read are saying, go back to what made you happy as a child. Okay. Well, I can't do that in my books because of what happened to me. However, somewhere along the line, somebody told me that I should find my happy place, and I told them very, very straightforwardly to go jump because I didn't have a happy place. My happy place is within, and I didn't realize that until later on in life, that I didn't need some structure, some community, another person to make me happy or love on me and things like that. So I think today it's certainly a lot different than a lot of other webinars, but what I'm saying is that we all need to look for that purpose in life, but start from within. If it makes you feel good, then absolutely go with it a bit further. If it doesn't feel right, then don't make another person or don't make yourself go down that path. What feels right. Yeah, sorry, keep going, Deborah.
Yeah, no, you've hit the nail on the head, because that is what we're here to do, is to go within. People keep searching for love outside of themselves, and they're not realizing that all the love that you require is within you, because we are love. And it's about recognizing that. It's about reconnecting with that and being that. And I know that's hard for a lot of people. I mean, everyone on this planet is on a different level of that awareness. But when we get there, we know our purpose, because it's, as you said, it's within. Our purpose is within. And when we begin listening to our heart and feeling and doing, everything flows, as Ian is finding out. Everything just flows. Everything comes to us. I mean, I can, the same thing I've been manifesting for a very long time. I can just think about it, and it'll be there. If it's something that I require, and something that I'm meant to have, it's just there. So it's not a problem.
About like the heart, and let's go back to ONPASSIVE. ONPASSIVE was built with heart.
Yeah.
Okay, firstly, above and beyond, from our CEO, Ash Mafara, who has a heart because he wanted to help humanity. Now, to do that, he said about by putting together from the ground up and putting AI, machine learning, technology, because you need something out there in the world to say, this is what we've got. However, that wasn't his only thing, to go out there and make all this money and make all the, you know, the shareholders or everybody else rich. Okay. The money will come because the value is there. The thing about technology these days is that's all we've got, right? We've got technology. That's how people communicate. That's how people do business these days. There's no sort of getting away from it. So why not get into it, but do it from a place of love? And that's what's really important. So ONPASSIVE is built with heart. And I think each and every one of us need to remember the CEO is that person who put down that vision to help you and me and everybody here. And I always say that I didn't find ONPASSIVE found me. Now, is there anybody else out there that feels like that? Did ONPASSIVE find you? You know, because I came in for different reasons, and we heard about that last week, and I'm not going to go on about that. But, you know, Ian, did you feel like, did you feel within you that ONPASSIVE had became, you know, was given to you? Yvonne shared it with you. You said you saw what ONPASSIVE was and thought, yeah, that's going to be great for my life. But, you know, how did you sort of feel about that? And since your growth, because I'm not quite sure exactly when you came in, but I'd say maybe 2019.
Yeah.
Yeah, you've been here for a while. Your journey has been long already, you know. So, and you've seen the different levels of growth within ONPASSIVE, you know, especially on that development side of bringing about those AI technology and things like that. So I'd like to hear just a little bit, Deborah, if you don't mind me going back over to Ian.
Of course not. No.
Thank you. I'd just like to hear a little bit more about your journey, about how ONPASSIVE found you. Thank you, Deborah.
Yeah. Well, Yvonne came to me, for me, was a divine connection, because I think everything is divine. Everything has a reason. All our connections for lessons that we need to learn, or they pass us by and we loop back until we learn the lessons. The moment I met Yvonne, we just connected as friends, and we've been great friends from the moment we met, basically. And I was talking about my personal development and my endeavors in the business I was involved in, and of course Yvonne started talking about ONPASSIVE, and we shared that, and I just like basically fell in love with the whole idea of it. And once I started listening to Ash, and he's definitely coming from a heart-based space, and that is it's in his voice, it's in his eyes, and you can see his heart. It's very, very clear. I'm still here, and I think it's a wonderful, wonderful institution that is going to be emerging from this, and everybody should be grateful because we're blessed for that. My journey is in recent times is to try and understand the messages that are coming my way clearer, and picking up all the lessons that I need to pick up instead of letting them pass by. And so by reducing my footprint on this earth and reducing everything that I've done on this planet, the lessons are easy to find out because they're fewer, but they're more powerful. I have a clearer vision of life, and I have a clearer vision of the future. But I'm also living in the now, which is important. There's nothing else but right now. And, you know, we are moving into a golden age. Whether we like to believe it or not, I firmly am in a golden age where the divine feminine it's her time. You know, she needs to come back. She needs to take the pain out of this life for humanity. It can only come from the feminine. It can't come from the masculine. We're just, you know, the masculine is too ego based. You know, that's why we have wars and murders and crime, because of the masculine. And once we recognize the divine feminine in ourselves, only then can we understand the divine feminine in the universe itself. And this is where I'm at, and I firmly believe in that. And as we move into the golden age of the divine feminine, and men take a step back from this power-based ego, the world will be a better place. But we've got a long way to go, but the journey has started. And ONPASSIVE is a great place to get the message across and share the wealth evenly around the globe, so everybody has a fair chance of just being and living and existing as we should, freely and comfortably and in love. And love for me is not, I don't love things or I don't love people. I'm in love, which is a space. It's a space. Love is a space that we all come from. I'm in that constantly 24/7. And that's how I met my partner Terry, because we were both in the space of love and we found each other in that. So we don't have attachment to each other, but we're very much in the love space. No attachments. I don't attach myself to anything. I'm free from all of those things. And people that are doing the work on themselves are the ones that are going to be here quicker. You know, if you're not doing your own personal inner work, you're going to not be left behind, but you'll be at the back of the queue. And it's just the way life works. You know, it's up to us to step up, do the work on ourselves, shine your light. As Deborah says, if you don't shine, we can't see you. If I don't shine, people can't see me. I'm not a teacher, but if people choose to learn something from me, that means they're working. And the same from everybody I meet. I learn something from everybody I meet. There's a lesson there somewhere, whatever it is. You know? And I just choose to shine love. Yeah.
There's a quote that I just put up recently, and I have to laugh because it says, "Shine your light bright so that the other weirdos know where you are."
Yes. All the misfits come together because we're the ones that are going to shine. All those that claim not to be misfits are fooling themselves. You know, knowledge is knowing. Knowledge is not knowing. Once I realized that I actually don't know anything, all the things I thought I knew, knowledge and intelligence was given to me at school or told, or I read it. It's not my experience. My experience now is love and community-based, heartfelt living.
Yeah, and it doesn't necessarily have to be age. You know, like I found out older, you know, and I wished I'd found out younger. But sometimes the experiences in life, I've always said that, you know, people have said to me, because I've written a book and things like that about my life, my autobiography, you know, like, you've been through so much, Narelle, you know, and I always say, and I'll just say from my own belief, that if God wanted me or needed me to go through this so that I could experience the things in my life to be able to help those who are still yet to come through those situations, whether it be domestic violence, whether it be, you know, sexual, physical, mental, financial, cultural, any of those things, then sometimes, and it's not like, you know, people say, well, you choose to do that. And there are some who will, you know, say that that was my choice. And yes, it was, because you don't know what you know until you've gone through it. You know, what you make the decisions on what you know at the time. And when you know more, you make different decisions, you know, accept different things. So it took me a long time to learn that, and it took me a long time of shaking off some of the old beliefs, and like I said, bringing it back to a place of love where you know where you stand, you know who you are, and not accepting anything outside of that. So like I said,
we can't live in the past, Narelle. You know, we can't. Sorry to cut you off.
No, it's okay, but there's a lot of people who do it.
You know, but my battery's a bit low. So
I know.
Well, you know, it's, you know, we can't live in the past. If we live in the past, then we're not breaking free. You know, and if we don't forgive, you're not going to let go. And so I learned to forgive all the people I thought needed forgiving, including myself.
Yes.
Of all those things. And once I shake that, I love everything about my life.
Yes.
Every single part of my life I love, because it's made me who I am today. And I'm grateful for everything.
Absolutely. And I agree with you there. I do see Yvonne has popped back in, and she's been here a little while, just sitting in the background. Yvonne, is there anything that you'd like to ask Ian before we let him go? I know his battery's getting low, so I just wanted to see if there was something.
Not my battery, the computer's battery.
Mine's the same. I keep logging out because of my connection. So sorry about that. But thank you for sharing in. It's great to have you on here. Just a question. With the materials and the buildings, what are you going to keep it all very natural? How are you going to do these buildings? How are they going to be built?
Well, it depends. If we bring in
Materials.
other when the other infrastructure arrives, however that arrives, it's going to be an organic evolution. Now you know, people are going to come. They might come in a caravan. They might come in a car and they haven't got anything. So well, you can start there. You can start with your car. And if they have to contribute, we have to contribute to life somehow. That means chipping in or making a contribution, or it doesn't matter what that is. If you feel like your contribution is enough, then we have to accept that. That's just the way communities work. We have to be humility plays a big part in this, and acceptance of others, because we can't expect others to be like us. They are their own individual beings. So I shine my light as me, and other people can shine their light as them. All we're looking for is people that want to live in the space of love and from the heart, contribute to a natural environment, and just be and enjoy life and just get on with it without any constraints or restrictions from authority that impose rules on us that don't really belong to us. So we will just develop organically and let it grow from there. And people, even though they may not know it when they arrive, including me and people, we may not know exactly when we arrive, but it will emerge. It will reveal itself organically, because we've got this far, and we know what we need. We just need food and shelter to begin with, and that's the easiest thing in the world to start to develop. Anything outside of that is probably superfluous and potentially not even necessary.
And you could build mud brick houses and
everything. You can do anything. You can live in tents, teepees, caravans, old buses. We'll just keep bringing stuff that people can live and work in. We'll create a marketplace for trading within ourselves and with other communities.
It's a safe haven, isn't it? So sorry, Ian, I didn't mean to cut you off. I'm overlapping.
It's always going to be safe. Yeah, it's always going to be a safe haven. It's come from a space of love. Once you step into love, it's not love in an item or a person. It's a space of love. Once you're in there, everything is lovely. And it may say an ideal, but you have to manifest it. You have to bring it into your life. You have to be that. If I can't be what I want to see out there, it's not going to appear before me. I have to be that first before I see it. And that's what we are doing. That's what I'm doing personally.
Yeah.
And I'm
I think,
very,
like
very
I said, Ian, thank you so much for sharing with us tonight, because I know that you're in your vehicle and your computer battery, your phone battery is running low. Is there any, do you have any last words for us before we let you go? Is there something, that you'd like to share that just sparks everybody, I suppose? So
yeah, I guess a couple of things. One is I've heard a lot of things tonight from yourself and Mary, which I can resonate with, and I fully understand, because I have that experience. And if you live and speak from your own experiences and not speak from other people's experiences, if you take on someone else's story, it'll change, and it's not a truth anymore. So speak from your own truth and stand in your own power. So when you stand in your own power, you don't get any other projections on you. You don't get the shit on you, because if you do, you take it with you until you take it off again. And this metaphorical, but it's so fundamental to our lives, the things we take with us, so I just project out myself. I stand in my own power, and I shine everywhere I go. I engage every person I meet. I engage with. I don't just dismiss them out. Shopkeepers, I engage them. And if I can't put a smile on their face, that means I wasn't smiling when I went in. I have to be exactly what I want to see, and that is my message to humanity, because I think all humanity is going to be stepping up in the future.
Yeah, thank you, Ian. That is truly amazing. I think just a big round of applause for Ian for coming and sharing with us tonight. And I think you're right. Humanity needs us. It needs love, because even if you look at our younger generation, they're afraid, they're living in fear, they don't know how to smile. When you actually say, hey, how are you going today? They're shocked, like you're talking to them like, hang on a minute, what am I supposed to say? Because they're programmed to just work, albeit say at the cash register, and they're just so focused on what they need to do just to get paid and be they're not happy at work. You know, the ones who are
Yeah.
happy you see because they say, how are you today? And they actually ask you how you're going, you know, and they want to be at work, but there's a lot who don't. And the fact of, what do they call it? Pushing off responsibility for their own actions onto a lot of other things, whether it be society, you know, communities, you know, parliament, or politicians, you know, it's all of this bounce around the who's to blame. You know, nobody wants to take acknowledgement or acknowledge who's to blame. It doesn't matter. The past is the past. We can't go back tomorrow and change tomorrow. We can't go back and change the last minute. Okay, we can step forward now and we can make decisions based on our knowledge of what we know right now. So don't get caught up in everything, what's going on. I turned off the television a long time ago. I stopped reading stuff, even though some of it was coming from people. I honestly feel so much better and calmer within myself because I know that where I am in my place and my journey. Do you know what I mean? So don't get caught up in all the crap that's going on. It really isn't ours. It doesn't belong to us. You know, if you take it on, then you're taking it on as a responsibility that you think you can change it. Well, you can't.
Yeah. Well, once you make a space in your life by taking this stuff off, if you don't fill that space with what you want, the old stuff will come from your subconscious and put the old stuff straight back in.
Yeah, exactly. So I do hope that each and every one of you got something out of tonight and take it away. If there are anybody who would like to ask any last questions before we finish off, we're trying to keep our webinars to 1 hour because of the time frame from one side of Australia to right over to New Zealand. We also would like to know, and I will just turn off the recording if nobody else has got any, and I just want to have a quick chat with you. There's Marcianne. Just in time, Marcianne. Unmute yourself. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Narelle. Thank you. I was listening and I'm sorry I couldn't open my video as I said it earlier. I just want to thank you all for all the great job that you are doing. Taking your time and bringing this to us is very, very important. We learn every time we come to each webinar, and it's always a great thing for us. We are looking for change. We are looking for everything that we have. This is where we got it. We have this knowledge that you guys giving it to us free of charge. You don't get paid for giving us all this knowledge. So I just want to congratulate you all for all the job, all the posts, everything that you do. Sometimes we might not say anything, but we really, really appreciate you. Thank you so much. That's all I wanted to say.
Thank you, and we appreciate you, and we actually appreciate each and every one of those who come onto our webinars. We're only very little here in Australia and New Zealand. Like I've spoken before, Marcianne, Australia is a very rich country, and New Zealand, a lot of the stuff is given to the people, whether they want it or not, you know. So Australia being a rich country, when you haven't hit rock bottom before, and we can do that as individuals, but when a country hasn't hit rock bottom, when they need to struggle and know where their food is coming from, or they don't have the medical pickup or the, you know, Centrelink or Social Security, you might know it as, where they prop up everybody in Australia, people aren't, they haven't hit rock bottom. We have very few founders in Australia. I think there's about 4,000 to 5,000 out of 25 million people in Australia. But the ones who found ONPASSIVE, or the ones that ONPASSIVE found, are the ones who are the strong, going to stand up and make a difference in our country, because we can make a difference in the world. But we here in Australia and New Zealand want to see our communities change. You know, we want to be able to help those that firstly need help, you know, and not just the handouts all the time, because I am really sorry, but there's a lot of people that won't even go to work. I have friends who own businesses who are screaming out for helpers in Australia, you know, where people don't want to go to work because they earn enough on the government. Enough government gives them enough to survive. And when they have 3, 4, 5, 6 living in a house, plenty of money. You know, they just play games and have fun and do whatever they want to do. And I'm not saying that that is absolutely wrong. I'm just saying that that's a society where I don't like saying politicians, but our politician society, the environment that they've bred within Australia, brings people in who don't actually acknowledge or respect anybody else or any other country. So Marcianne, we appreciate you for coming in, liking what we do, because I know Yvonne and myself, Kenton from New Zealand, and any of those here have stood up and said, hey, we're here. We're trying to do our best over here. We're trying to make a ONPASSIVE name, in a sense, in Australia, that people would reach out to us. But we still continue to do, even though there are naysayers out there, those who have laughed at you, those who have ridiculed you, those who have said it is nothing but, you know what, wouldn't trust it, any of that. You just put up those mirrors and let that go back to them, because one day they will see, okay? And we know what's coming. We have belief in what's coming. We have to have belief in something that is so huge, and for all of us, we all get a little bit anxious about, well, why isn't it happening now? Or I thought it was going to happen then, or, and that's only our own selves by saying, we want, I need a hot water system, $2,000. It's in the middle of winter. I don't have any hot water, but it's okay. I've got my sister's place to shower at, and I can do that, and I can sponge bath in the meantime until I can afford to get a hot water system, because you make do, and you know that there are people worse off than ourselves, okay? There are always somebody worse off than ourselves. We have a roof over our head, we have food on the table, plenty of food, plenty of water out of the tap. It might not be the best water, because filtered water is better, but we have these things available to us. Who are we, that we are going to go out and help our Australians? Who are we going to ask, and who are those that are going to step up in our communities to say, I need help? Because sometimes that's a hard thing to do as well, is to say, I need help. Ian has come on tonight, and even though I know, Ian, you've not been here asking for investors and things like that, it will absolutely come to you 100-fold, if your heart's in the right place, and yours is. You want to do this for those around, those like-minded. So thank you once again, Marcianne. Thank you, Ian, for your time, your patience, and for joining us tonight. We really appreciate it, and please, you're welcome back anytime to come along and join us. If there is anyone here who would like to, just let me go off recording here somewhere.